You are now watching Believe. Do you believe?
BBN, we are in here for another episode of Believe in Kentucky. Got AG Aaron Gershon. My name is Vinny Hardy. Y'all know AG from the Cat's Paws. Coming to y'all here on Believe.com, where you can get every episode of this podcast. BLEAV.com, number one content network for professionals. You can hear our recaps, our previews. We got all kind of stuff coming up for football season, man. AG, you down there in Florida, in Gator Country.
Yeah.
What's the scene, man? How's everything going?
Yeah, man, it's good. I was gonna try to record a cool spot outside, the stadium, but it's raining, so that wasn't gonna happen. But it's Florida, you know how it goes here. But man, I'll tell you, on the flight down from Nashville this morning, a lot of Kentucky fans on the flight, ready to go. I sat next to the mother of Dante and not Dante. I'm thinking, man, it's been a long week. Destin and Keaton Wade. So that was cool to talk to her. She was very proud of the hit Keaton made against Miami, Ohio last week. So that was fun. A lot of good Kentucky fans, and just going into Publix here. They're here, man. It's going to be fun, but man, it feels like a huge freaking game for the second one of the season. The stakes are high given what Florida was able to do last week.
Yeah, they knocked off Utah. I'm just up here in South Carolina. I'm in Hilton Head. This rain is here too.
Everywhere with palm trees, it's raining.
Yeah. But yeah, you mentioned the Wade twins. Their mom is all in. They were flying the UK flags at their playoff in high school last year. So definitely good to see the Kentucky presence. And you mentioned it feels like a big game for the second week of the season. It's kind of deja vu because last year all you heard Kentucky, Missouri, week 2.
Yeah, it was a big game then.
All last summer, same thing. Week 2, Missouri. So here we are a year later now, week 2, Florida, and it's that same kind of vibe, I guess.
It really is, and probably the stakes are even higher because, I mean, the expectations for Missouri, I don't exactly remind. I knew they were supposed to be a middle of the pack SEC East team, and really after Kentucky went 5-6 during the COVID year, no one really knew exactly where Kentucky was going to be at. I don't think everyone had them as a 10-win team last year. So, but now, man, I mean, Kentucky's the team that's everyone's kind of picked, at least the majority of SEC media picked to finish second in the East. And Florida was kind of, and including myself, I mean, I'll put my hand up. I had them 5th in the East. I mean, I just didn't, it's so hard to get a read when it's a new coaching staff and you just saw like Florida just didn't feel like Florida last year. They just didn't have the same talent as they normally do. And that was, kind of what drove Dan Mullen out of town is he just, he's not much of a recruiter anymore. He just kind of wants to coach ball, and like that'll work in the NFL. But that's not going to work at the college level. So that's kind of what rode him out of here. So, but Billy Napier, from, what we saw in a big game, small sample size, but big game. I mean, they seemed much more organized. Their offense definitely seemed a lot cleaner. Obviously, Anthony Richardson was incredible. It just makes you wonder how the hell he wasn't starting last year over Emory Jones. No offense to Emory Jones, but man, it's a night and day difference at the quarterback position for him. So yeah, I mean, this is a game where, and you look at what Georgia was able to do. I mean, who knows how good or not Oregon is, but you just see a 49-3 score to open the year, and you're like, man, you can't. This is a tough game to slip up because you don't want to. Yeah, you just don't want to lose an East game this early, and obviously it just means a lot for momentum. I mean, I understand that Kentucky's got Youngstown State and Northern Illinois the next 2 weeks, but this could springboard things to kind of like we saw in 2018 where they got that win and they didn't take the foot off the gas for a while, or it could go the other way, kind of like when they lost in 2019, and they ended up picking it back up, and injuries played a role. But they lost to Florida at home, and then they lost the next week at Mississippi State, and the next week at South Carolina. So you way rather win this game than not. But it's a tall task.
I'll let Roman Harper tell it.
Yeah.
It's gonna go that way. It is gonna be Florida winning handily. Kentucky is soft, and Anthony Richardson is the next best thing since Cam Newton.
Yeah, man. And I think, look, I really like Anthony Richardson. Like as a fan of an NFL team that's going to need a quarterback next year, he's been at the top of my list, like even over Will. Just I think he might translate a little better to the NFL. But to the Cam Newton and Vince Young comparisons after one freaking game, that was his first start. His first start. Like and again, like I've been on two different Florida themed podcasts had me on this week, and I told them the same thing. I think the world of the kid, but let him have half a season. Like it's one game, and I think it does help that Kentucky's got DeAndre Square. I think this is a big game for DeAndre Square and Jacquez Jones because they've seen it all. They have 8 years of starting experience under their belt. They'll have the eye discipline, and I think that'll help kind of guide the younger guys too. And same with Jordan Wright. It's huge to get Jordan Wright back this week. I'm sure we'll touch on that. But the more veterans you have, the better. And luckily, the Kentucky's front seven is pretty experienced. It's just a game where you got to keep them in the pocket and then hope the corners can do their job. And I think you feel pretty good about the front seven and at least limiting the run as much as possible. But the problem is he's got a cannon for an arm and it's accurate. And that's where, for me, like Carrington Valentine, Keidron Smith, Tyrell Asian, it's got to be a big night for those guys.
Yeah. Now, is he consistent? I mean, we don't have a lot to go on. He's got the cannon,
Right.
he's got the highlights. Can he consistently, as Hank Stram said, matriculate the ball down the field on you? Can he do that without making
Yeah.
mistakes, or will going up against a veteran defense, especially front seven, can they get him to make some mistakes? I say make him beat you with his arm still. Yeah.
Yes.
So, and we'll see if he
Yes.
can do that.
Yeah, they have to make him beat him with his arm. And I think the running, that's a God-given ability, right? I mean, we saw it with Lamar, we saw it with Trace McSorley. They were kind of rushers first, and then they developed into better passers later in their college career. And again, Anthony Richardson's only a redshirt sophomore who just started his first game. So I think he only threw for about 168 yards. I know there were some highlight reel plays in there, like that 2-point conversion was unbelievable.
Well,
If you can make him throw from the pocket, or at least just not letting him go east south on you, make him go make him go south north south instead of east west. I think that's definitely what you want, because he could beat you with his legs. All he needs is green grass. I mean, that's you can't really teach that. But the discipline on decision making and just executing throws, especially because outside of their slot receiver, they're pretty young at receiver, and they're not necessarily like Dane Key and Barryon Brown, where you just look at those guys and go, man, they don't look like freshmen, especially Key. I mean, Key is he's like a vet, it feels like. And I think the spring season really helped for him. So if you can make him throw it, yeah, the better, because he will beat you on the ground. There's no doubt about that. And they have three pretty good running backs too.
You got to give them credit for beating Utah.
Absolutely.
They had to eke that out. It was dicey. They got the dub.
They got the dub, and who knows if Utah's quarterback isn't a dummy at the end of the game.
Exactly. I mean, like Stoops always says, they don't have to apologize for that win. I'm just saying. So they got the win. A lot of people had Utah beating them, so they pulled off the upset, if you will.
For sure.
The posters were definitely sold. They stole 25 jump that they're able to get into their top 15 team. When they were 37th, now they're 12th. But we'll see. They're what?
Wow.
Still I think favorite over going into Saturday. So, but Kentucky's not scared to go down there. They won in 2018. Should have won the year Boone Williams.
They should have won that game.
Broken. So it's not like, and there's still guys on that team that have won in this environment. So it's the whole narrative is flipped as far as it's not 73-7 Spurrier domination anymore.
No, and 2020 they deserved to lose that game. They had a bad year. Yeah. They should have won in 2019 at home.
Yes.
They should have won in 2017 at home. So really, you're looking at the last, I guess that's 5 matchups. They should be 4-1.
Right.
They're really 2-2, obviously. So, or 2-3 if you count, 2-3 when they should be 4-1. So it's a very frustrating series, obviously. But this year just feels different. It feels like Kentucky is like they expect to win, and the fans expect to win. That's never been the case. I don't even think last year. I think last year everyone kind of saw that they were overrated. I mean, they came in 10th, and we all know how the year crashed and burned after the Kentucky game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they played Alabama really well the week before. So I don't think anyone really expected Kentucky to win that game, just given the week before Kentucky barely beat Chattanooga. And they were able to pull that game out. And that was obviously a lot of, you got to give Kroger Field the fans credit, 8 false starts. You're not going to have that luxury this time. So, but there's a different, like you said, Kentucky's not afraid. There's a different type of confidence this time around than in years past. But and the Florida hype, I mean, their ranking. I think part of that is there's so much gray area between 4 and 25. Like it's Alabama, it's Georgia, it's Ohio State, and everybody else. Like the pollsters have no idea what to do, and they just saw win, you skyrocket. Kentucky beat Miami, Ohio, look bad in the first half, you're not moving type thing. So the polls mean nothing this early, but this I don't know. This game is just it has a bigger feel than most September football games do, and I think that's because of the hype that Florida has, but in the quiet confidence of Kentucky.
And Kentucky won in the swamp in 2018.
Yep.
But even like you say, going into the game last year, it was still a hope to beat Florida.
Yeah.
We hope we can beat them. Haven't beat them in Lexington since 1986.
86.
So it wasn't an expectation to beat them last year. It was, well, we hope we can. But now, like you said, this year is you expect to beat them, and I think that carries over from Stoops. He saw them every year at Florida State and Miami.
Yep.
It's not like the mystique bothers him. He's been matching up with them pretty well for years. Should have some more W's against them. Like you said, one was a clock error, operator error. Then you had the, uncovering a couple of receivers twice. That was you can't make that up.
Yep. And then
14-9 game. Yeah, 14-9 game with Patrick Tolles. Just get one drive. So yeah. But so Mark Story wrote a column about it in the Herald Leader talking about the heartbreak, plenty of that. But he has given a lot of joy. Last year was straight joy. The 8 false starts, the blocked field goal, the win in the swamp, Cash Daniels popping the beer, so all of that. He's so
it's turned around.
Shifted. It is shifted, and Florida fans want to say a blind squirrel finds a nut and all that kind of stuff, but it's not as one-sided or as much of a laugher as it used to be.
No, not at all. It hasn't been a laugher since other than the 2016 game and probably 2013 in the Stoops era. I mean, it just hasn't. And he'll never say it. Mark Stoops hates Florida, man. He just comes off differently during Florida week. Like he doesn't have this same look in his eye even when they play Georgia. I think there's a lot of respect for Kirby Smart. I don't see it as much going into LSU last year or whatever. I mean, Louisville, yeah, but I don't know. There's something about Mark Stoops, and probably like you said, is because he's worked at Miami, he's worked at Florida State, and now he's at Kentucky, where the monkey was on his back to beat Florida for the first 6 years of his tenure, whatever that was, 6 or 7 years, and then just historically since '86. So yeah, you can tell this game always means a little bit extra to him. He'll never admit it, but you get the vibe. They're gonna cut. Yeah, they're just not gonna be afraid, and I don't think. I just it's the temperature like with Roman Harper, man. I just don't get how one game changed so much. I do understand how big a win that was, but like I said, the 1 through 3 in the rankings, everyone else, it's a crapshoot. Like we didn't know. I thought I had Utah as a playoff team, but I didn't really know. It was kind of a guess. And I don't know. You watch that game, and both teams were pretty sloppy. Florida was less sloppy and had way better quarterback play. Outside of Anthony Richardson stuff, I just don't see how Florida looked like world beaters outside of the quarterback. I really don't.
Yeah. And so, did Kentucky struggle to rush the ball? Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, were they maybe holding a little bit back? Maybe.
Hopefully.
but but now for him to say I mean, they're soft and they're I don't nothing. It's not as bad or as good as it seems. I think it's somewhere in the middle. There were, we talk about our guy Van House. There were just a few little misses, just a few
Yeah.
off in the pass blocking and pass protection where big plays were there to be had. Uh, we talked with Jalen about the biggest jump from week 1 to week 2 and
Yep.
how things can be cleaned up. So we'll see. You're going up against a much better opponent. You're
Yeah.
on their home field, so all that is going to factor in.
Sold out.
But these guys, these new guys in O line, you can't have experience until you get experience. They got some last week. They're gonna get a lot more this week. But as far as how to play together as a unit, we saw Coach Yenser talking about getting the best 5 out there.
They
That's
have
still
to,
kind of
yeah.
a work in process and progress. And I think they will put forth a better showing
Yeah.
all the way around, especially on the ground. I don't expect 50 yards rushing against Florida, even though
Uh,
they're a better front.
Yeah, and Florida give up 230 to Utah, so you got to feel pretty good. I think they're going to have to roll Will Levis out a little bit more. I don't think they wanted him to risk anything against Miami, Ohio, but they know this game has bigger stakes. I think Avaste had a couple where he was close to breaking off, and either there was a missed assignment blocking wise, or he just got tripped up. The turf monster got him on one run. And then Lavelle Wright, I think what everything I've heard is they saw Chris Rodriguez in him when they recruited him. Injuries have kind of slowed him down, but if he can get into a rhythm, I think he's a good complementary back. Obviously, they need those two to stay healthy. I think that goes without said. I'd also watch out for this. We saw it a little bit at the end of practice Wednesday when they let the media in, but D Beckwith might get some run out of the backfield. I know Mark Stoops hasn't talked about it, but he was practicing taking handoffs. So that's a guy I'd watch for it, especially in the red zone, maybe to mix things up a little bit. But I think, and I also think Kenneth Horsey, who I know it was a mixed bag in the Citrus Bowl left tackle, but his experience is huge at left tackle. And, I like David Wildbog. I think he's going to have a good career eventually, but he just wasn't ready yet. And that's okay. He's a redshirt freshman who played 2 games last year, and that's fine. They gave him a shot. It didn't work out. You go to Horsey here. And I think at some point this year, Kanta Goodwin will be the starting left tackle. It's just not going to be this week because they are not going to throw him out in the swamp for his first start. That's just not a way. Yenser even said it, that's a way to get guys' confidence wrecked, and you don't want that. So I think they're doing exactly what they need to do. I think their best 5 right now. I thought Flax played a really good game, which he hasn't played that well in the past, so that's a good sign. I think obviously Manning and Cox played a good game, and outside of one pressure, Jagger Burton was great. So I think they do have their best 5 right now, which is huge, and that should definitely help with the run, and it needs to help with the pass protection through because if you give Will Levis time, Florida's corners they have a really good safety in Trey Dean, but their corners are not great. And Tavion Robinson, Dane Key, Barryon Brown, I'm trying to think, man. Can you think of a better trio at least on paper, and the way they were able to prove themselves a bit, especially Tavion last week? That's a hell of a trio. Like that is a really, really good trio. Last year was Ali was okay, but it was all on Wandale. It was all on Wandale.
Is it? Well, you got to go back. Like we got Keenan Burton, Stevie Johnson, and Tammy, but he was a tight end.
Right.
If you want,
maybe I think 2014 you had Javess Blue, you had Dorian Baker had a really good year, and somebody else maybe Garrett Johnson.
Yeah.
But
Baker never did get to where we thought.
No, he never did.
He won the EKU game, but
thank God.
You kept waiting for him to get to that level and stay there, and he just never quite
did.
But yeah, going back to the O-line too, there was just guys you're supposed to go on the second level and get a guy, and they ran past the guy on the second level. And
Wallabog did that like 3 times, man.
Smokes kind of expected him to make the block, and oh no, this dude is coming free. So yeah, that kind of stuff. I think they can get that kind of stuff cleaned up and be okay. And Levis, we talked on the recap episode about how Levis was disappointed in that 300-yard passing game. So I think, sometimes some plays that he missed on where he, uh, the play with too much mustard on the ball, a couple of
Oh,
passes.
the one to Justice Dingle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's gonna kind of have that better. He'll be more of a flow, and so yeah, Kentucky's got every reason to be confident. Sure, we're looking through blue tinted glasses a little bit, but there's no reason for
They
Kentucky
got the roster. They
to
do.
down
And
there. Yeah,
they beat them last year. Like I understand it's a different venue and a different quarterback, but they beat them last year. I mean,
yeah,
and you know what? The Kentucky's offense didn't even play very well in that game. And I mean Wandale had a great play, but outside of that, I think Levis had under 100 passing yards. That's not going to happen again. That's
yeah.
just not. Uh,
When you get a first year coach, we all remember Stoops' first year. The cover was bare, but every first year coach, you're gonna get your teeth kicked in. Kentucky went 2-10. Pruitt at Tennessee he struggled. Billy Napier,
Dan
great.
Mullen lost his first game to Kentucky.
Yeah,
His
yeah,
first SEC game at Florida, and I
yeah,
know he was at Mississippi State before that, but his first SEC game at Florida
yeah.
was the 2018 streak ender.
So Florida, first year under Napier, still just his second game as their coach.
Yep, first SEC game.
His culture is not completely in
No.
place. Dan Mullen mailed it in last year. They were a train wreck. So I give him credit for what he's done, but I still think he's going to take his lumps as his first year as Florida's head coach. Now he might prove me wrong, and they might go 8-4, 9-3, and I'll be like, "Whoa, Billy Napier, my bad."
Yeah.
I gotta see him do that before
Sure.
and it starts Saturday. So
That's exactly right, and that's why I had LSU finishing sixth in the West, and I had Florida finishing fifth in the East because it's so hard to get it done as a first year head coach, especially in the best conference by
yeah,
miles. I
yeah,
mean, it's just a different league, and obviously, again, you don't take any. No, they have nothing to apologize for. They deserved that game last week. They had their quarterback again, amazing, a lot of good things, but I just it's just hard to fully buy into a hype train and see like all this love for them after one game. And I think part of it is the national media and Florida, they're just dying for these big brands to get good again. Like I will admit, like it'd be good for college football. Florida's good again. It would be good if Florida State and Miami are good again, and
yeah.
they all are off to a good start so far. And then Nebraska, they're done. Throw them out of the conversation. It would have been nice, but they're done. Texas is on the rise. I don't think it's going to happen this year, but they're coming. And USC is definitely coming. Lincoln Riley is he's as good a coach I think there is. So, and I think there's that starvation for Florida to be back. And I think it's just pump the brakes, and if you're Kentucky, that's exactly what you want to do. You want to make everyone pump the brakes. And I will say this: it is good that Kentucky has the chip back on their shoulder, because last week you heard Mark Stoops say it wasn't that. He said the chip on there was none. It was very businesslike. They knew they were going to win that game. And that's good. You should be confident, and it's good. You're still taking care of business, but you need to have something that motivates you. And Kentucky's has never been in the position where they're picked to finish second in the East. They have Chris Doering going out picking them to go 11-1, and I think beating Georgia. So they've just never been in this spot, and maybe they got a little complacent last week and kind of knew they were the better team, which they were, but maybe it was just too much. And this week, now they're the underdog again. I mean, they're 5.5. They've been as high as a 7-point dog. No one's picking them. All the hype is on Florida, and now it's house money again, right? If Kentucky loses, I don't think anyone in the national media is going to come after Kentucky and say, "Man, wow, they were picked to finish second. They suck, overrated, blah blah blah." Unless they come out and lay an absolute egg, that's not going to be the conversation. The conversation is going to be, "Wow, Florida is back." So if you're Kentucky, you can just flip the narrative on Florida and just keep doing your own thing, and then you got 2 weeks where you should be able to clean up business and clean things up and be 4-0 going into Ole Miss.
Exactly. And I like your point too, what you saw with D Beckwith, and I knew the whole plan, H-back and all that, but I kept just saying, look, put him back there and let's
do it.
Can he beat Derrick Henry? Can he beat Eddie George? Give him a shot. And if
Why
and,
not?
and now maybe with the Jefferson going out and Wright being
Yeah.
banged up, maybe it kind of dictates that they give him a look there. But I thought he should have got a shot there anyway. Just you don't see many 6'4", 6'5" running
Yeah.
backs like that. So if maybe he can do it. Maybe he's better at H back. They're at practice, they know. But I was like, give him some
Give
crack.
him a shot. Just give
Yeah.
it. And now it's a necessity. And I think the other guy that's really interesting in this is Michael Drennan. Like, I don't know what they really think of him, man. It's like, it's kind of upsetting because he was a high 4-star guy. I think he was the second highest ranked recruit in the class he signed with behind I can't remember off the top of my head who he was behind, but he was number two. And I don't know what his role is, but you have to bring three running backs into a game. You just have to. I mean, obviously, we saw that's where Kentucky's been the best, right? 2019 was Rose, Smoke, and C-Rod, and obviously Lynn at quarterback. You had Boom Williams, Saheem King, and Benny Snell. You had Snell, Rose, and forget who the third back on that team was, but they did have a third back. So you always got to have three backs. They don't all have to be great like Rose, Smoke, and C-Rod were that year, but you got to have three capable guys. So whether it's Beckwith or Drennan, they need somebody under Smoke and Wright to be a factor and keep the defense on their toes.
Exactly. So you've been on a couple Gators podcasts. How are they feeling after one game? What do you see from them? You mentioned the corners are a little bit weak. We talked about Anthony Richardson. What else do you see when you think about the Gators and talk with their members of the media?
Yeah, they're pretty confident. They're pretty confident. They were more fan pods, and that's cool. Like anyone who does this, it's great to get your name out there and do this thing. But I think the first podcast I talked to was more like they're gonna like blah blah blah. Last night it was confident, like confidence, but respect for Kentucky, and everyone respects Mark Stoops, that's the common theme. But Florida wise, I think their strengths are obviously the quarterback, and then I think their pass rush. It didn't get home last week, but they've got dudes there. I mean, whether it's Brenton Cox, Ventrell Miller, I mean, they've got dudes up front. And that's why this is such a pivotal game for Kentucky's offensive line to have their best five and be disciplined and be sound, because that's the strength of the Florida defense is their D-line and some of their linebackers. But yeah, I'm not too high on their corners. I thought Cam Rising, Utah's quarterback, had a pretty good day outside of the really bad decision at the end of the game. And they didn't stop the run. You're able to kind of get through the nose tackles a little bit where they're really good on the edges. So if you can run the ball up the middle and, have that, and then you're able to be balanced and be unpredictable by mixing in the throw, I think you're going to be fine offensively. I will say this about they have one nose tackle. I was going through their depth chart, who's 439 pounds. 439. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. I'm going to get his name while I keep talking here, but they've got size, but Utah was able to run pretty well up the middle last week. And then on the offensive side of the ball, we all know what Anthony Richardson is. We can go on and on about him. It's not worth going even further. He's great. But they've got three good running backs. Trevor Etienne, who's the brother of Travis Etienne. He's the brother of Travis Etienne. I'm close enough to Jacksonville. I should know that. But yeah, and you got they have the transfer from Louisiana who followed Billy, and they have another guy too. So the running back room is solid, though they did fumble twice. Etienne had a fumble, and the kid from Louisiana, whose name is slipping me, had a fumble too. But then, yeah, their biggest question, they have a great offensive line. That's the other thing. But the biggest question from Florida going into the year personnel-wise was who's going to step up at receiver. And outside of Ricky Pearsall, who's the slot receiver from Arizona State, it's still the jury's out there. So this is a big game for Kentucky's nickels, Alex Afari and Andrew Phillips to contain Pearsall. And then it's a huge game for Carrington Valentine, man. It is a huge game because it's kind of a weakness on weakness where just calling it what it is. Florida's not great at the out boundary corner, and I don't think Carrington Valentine's a great corner yet. and this is a game where he can prove himself and make me eat my crow. And I hope I can, because he's a hardworking kid.
Mhm.
He has all the athletic tools, but the route, the biggest thing with him was route recognition. And Hippenhammer, or whatever, that the Penn State transfer from Miami, Ohio, he
Mhm.
torched him last week. He did. I mean, there was one good pass breakup, but I think that's the key matchup is Valentine versus whoever he's on the boundary. Because if Valentine can shut down his side, I feel pretty good about Keidron Smith. And if you can make it, they have to go to Pearsall. Yeah, you're feeling pretty good. Because I'm not really, I don't know all that much about their tight ends, but it's not Brock Bowers out there. They'll be fine.
Exactly. So, yeah, we kind of stated our case. Think that Kentucky's definitely equipped to go down there and handle business,
Oh,
and
they're definitely equipped. Yeah.
the focus will be there as they execute. And in spite of the spread, we kind of think they can go toe to toe and are better in enough areas, or even in enough areas,
Yeah.
more than hold their own. Florida's gonna have edge here and there, and
Yeah.
maybe in their offensive line, but that's Kentucky's
They have a
front
good
very
old line.
good. Yeah, Kentucky's front's very good too, though. But
It is.
their receivers are weak. Kentucky's corners are question marks. Like you said, the question marks, it all matches out.
Yeah.
Up.
It really does. I mean, it's Kentucky's corners versus Florida's receivers. Those are two question marks.
Mhm.
And our offensive line against their noses, I think their interior defensive tackle, they kind of rotate those guys. They play a 3-4. So yeah, they got to protect the edges though. I mean, it's a big game for Kenneth, obviously, and it's a huge game for Jeremy Flax. They got to protect the edges. If you give Will Levis time, he's gonna be fine. He's that good. So yeah, this game is really. I mean, you could break it down. The more I think about it, it's simple, man. You protect Levis, and you'll have a shot. Because I think you can score with Florida, but if you aren't able to score, they're going to score enough to win this game. Florida is, just because Anthony Richardson and Brad White said it. He's going to make his plays. Like, there are going to be a couple plays in there that are like, all right, you tip your cap. It's a matter of limiting those. But if you let them have 3 of those, and that's 21 points, okay, you got to be able to score 21 of your own. That's the key. You want to make sure you can score with Florida. Let it get in. I mean, obviously, you want your defense to play well, but if it has to, let it get to a shootout. Like, make sure you're scoring with them.
Yeah, and the tight ends for Kentucky are versatile.
Yeah.
We've heard a lot about them. They can kind of help with the protection if need
They
be.
need to better this week.
If it gets
It
dire,
wasn't great last week.
yeah. So step up and help your tackles, protect if need be. Fans been clamoring for tight ends in the offense for years. We saw a touchdown to a tight end last week. So
Yeah, Brennan Bates.
yeah, that. So they can, and Skangs loves him. We already know he loves it. We saw what he did with Kittle in the 49ers, and I hate
Bates is the best blocking tight end too. This is a big game for him. I've actually been. Brendan Bates is a big game for Brendan Bates.
So and the big blue wall is got a bad taste in their mouth. They saw those sacks they gave up.
They know they sucked. Let's be honest.
So is it as bad as the fans want to say? Maybe not. Is it just a few tweaks here and there? Probably so.
Yeah.
But they want to rectify how they played last week. And that I mean, sure, once the whistle blows and the game starts, all that goes out the window. But they know they're on a mission to, hey, we got to put together a lot better game than we played last week, and we got a more challenging opponent than we had last week. So we better we better step it up for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're totally right. They're hungry. They were not happy with their performance. You just see Eli Cox is the one who talked to the media after the game. He was not happy, man. Yeah. He was not happy. They're motivated to do better, and they have to do better. Again, I really think if they play well, Kentucky's got a shot. If they don't, they just don't. I mean, that's the SEC. I mean, there's no games on the SEC slate. Even Vanderbilt this year, you can't get away with poor offensive line play. You just can't. So, I mean, I'm not saying they're going to be back to the big blue wall. We know, but hold them to 2 sacks. Get better. Run for 100 yards. Just just get better. Small wins. That's what you got to see. And the other factor we haven't even talked about is need another big special teams game. I mean, let Matt Ruffalo's got to keep going, man. I mean, he looks so much. He used to be, oh God, he has an extra point attempt. Is it going to go through to hitting 50-yarders left and right? So, he's got to keep it going. And I mean, it's hard to ask Barryon Brown to score another touchdown, but just Tavion Robinson setting tones for drives in the punt return game, having good blocks like they were last week. I thought Kavasi Smoke had an amazing block for the Barryon Brown touchdown. So specials is another big area where, you know me, I love special teams. It's the most underrated facet of the game. And that could be somewhere where Kentucky has an advantage because from everything I understood, Florida's a work in progress in that aspect.
So definitely that they did play great as an entire unit.
That was the best unit. The defense played really well for the most part. The offense was mixed, but special teams gets an A+. They really do. They maybe not the punter. He had one bad punt, but everything else was perfect special teams wise.
And man, Ruffalo just,
where did this come from?
He's not the biggest, strongest dude. He's just, just kind of a, you don't want to say roly-poly, just kind of a pudgy little dude.
He is.
But,
yeah.
And Chance Poore was the highly touted kid, and he is
number one kicking recruit.
He has held him off for years. He's kept that job, and
Yeah, this is both of their last years. It's over. Yeah. Ruffalo won it, man. And it's going to be the Jackson Smith kid next year.
And then he's increased his leg strength coming in this year. I mean, nobody had him, hitting last week. The field goal he hit.
That's what I'm saying. Like he went from. Remember when the Ole Miss game when he missed the extra point and Lane Kiffin said he owed him a Christmas present? He went from that low moment to hitting, a 50-yarder. It's like that's such an underrated thing. I mean, if you can get 3 points out of a drive that didn't get as far down the field as you wanted to, and that's big. That's big.
And he's taken away a lot of stress. He'd run out there and you're like, oh.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
yeah. Ever since McGinnis left, it was, Miles Butler, we saw how that went. Poore, we saw how that went. Ruffalo, the start, we saw how that went. So, yeah, it's big to have a kicker you can trust. And also, last year, we're saying all this, last year, special teams won the game.
You're right. Right.
Yep. Haskell's not walking through that door, but special teams won the game last.
It definitely did. Definitely did. Got to tell y'all too about our friends at La Terrain Watches. You got to get yourself a nice timepiece. Go to their website to get it. LaTerrain.com, LA-TOURAINE.com. See what Dave and Ben got to offer. It's going to be good quality products for men, for women, accessories. You can, get whatever different type of style you like. It's not just one. Seafair, Atlas, different types. Go on the website. Hit the chat button, ask any kind of question you want to ask them. They can answer you and give you the information you need to feel confident about your purchase. LaTerrain.com, friends of this podcast, each and every episode. We go back, way back with LaTerrain.com. So definitely check them out. And our good friends at the Sea of Blue put these episodes up on their site, and we definitely appreciate that. So more listeners and BBN fans that bleed blue can listen to AG and I and Jalen when he's on with us, chop it up about the Cats, man. So have fun definitely previewing this episode. Before we hop off though, I gotta ask you, we gotta flip it up. Your Yankees are up 4.5 games. My Braves are up. My Braves are half a game back. Are they both gonna win their divisions?
Yeah, I'm rooting for trust me, I want to give all the crap I can to my Mets fan buddies back home. So I'm rooting for the Braves every day. But the Yankees have been a debacle the last month or so. And
are you gonna hold on though? Are y'all gonna hang on?
It's all this. If they win the series against Tampa Bay this weekend, they will. If they don't, oh boy. But it's hard right now. They got seven of their 9 starters are injured or they have 2 guys on the paternity list. That's just like.
And who just went up? Mayhew just went up?
Mayhew's hurt. Dang. And Trevino's having a kid, so he's away. It's just a mess. And Stanton, it's a mess.
His foot, Your Giants open up in Nashville where you just flew out of. How are they going to fare against the Titans?
I'll be there Sunday. They better win. So
okay.
Right. I'm flying back Sunday to be there. So they better win. But I don't know, man. They're rebuilding. They're doing it the right way this time. I just hope they show some things that's getting better. Tennessee's a tough task week 1 though. They got obviously not the I don't think they have the best pass game, but they have the best running back in the league. We all know that, and Derrick Henry, and they've got a really good pass rush. I mean, Jeffrey Simmons, no, Harold Landry's out, but they got some dudes on the and Bud Dupree. Obviously, everyone knows how special he is around our parts. So, yeah, they got a good pass rush, and they've got the best running back in the game. So it'll be tough.
Our boys open up with Tampa Bay Sunday night.
The GOAT.
Played them tough last year down
They
there.
did.
Should have won that. Make a field goal. We win. Have a little. Our special teams let us down in that game. I got a bad feeling though. I try to be.
I'm worried about
Yeah.
something I'd never think about the Cowboys. I'm worried about their offensive line this year. It's
Oh,
just
my
not because I mean, even obviously the playoff success hasn't been there, but every year you got a good offensive line. You're going to run the ball. Dak's going to be on his feet. But man, with Smith out and experience, it's just it's very un-Dallas like.
Get Jason Peters from the Eagles. He's 40, and so he's playing that left tackle spot. So yeah, that and the O-line and wide receiver, who is gonna step up in the
outside of CD Lamb,
2 and 3 behind CD.
Yeah. I don't know why they let Cedric Wilson walk. I really liked him.
And Amari Cooper and Leo Collins, but a lot of guys, I listen, the Believe in Dallas guys, Jesse Holly and Jeff. He's on the fan station down there. Jerry was kind of over those guys about the vaccine and stuff, and that was more of a make a decision.
Come on, man.
From a personal standpoint than a business standpoint is what they were saying. So it may come back to bite you now that the season's here. But
yeah, well, who knows, man? All I know is we both hate Philly, and they're going to be really good. That sucks.
Yeah. I'm still thinking maybe Jalen Hurts might not be.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
That's what I'm hoping.
But every other position group,
they're
loaded. They're loaded.
Was it Chris Sims that had them as the number 1 seed?
Okay, that's too far.
I was like, now that's
the guys you're playing tomorrow. You're playing Sunday night. I would make an argument for LA, but last night, and I still think the Rams will be good, but that was bad.
And Buffalo let them back in it and then smoked them again.
I know.
They could have been doing what they did at halftime the whole game, and it shouldn't have been 10-10.
All I'm going to say is I finally got Cooper Kupp in fantasy this year, and it's a blessing. It's a blessing. They might have gotten their ass kicked, but 31 points to open the year. I'll take that any day of the week.
Exactly. And with that, man, we got our Gators preview in for this episode of Believe in Kentucky. We'll be back early next week, recapping the Florida game, previewing Mark Stoops' hometown reunion game with Youngstown State.
Bryce Oliver revenge game.
That's right. So hope y'all enjoy it. Y'all go to Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts. Go right to believe.com, search up Kentucky, and you can just play each and every episode. This one will show up new, and then all the other ones that we've done will be right there behind it, and you can listen to all those. So we definitely appreciate that. Hope everybody has a good weekend. If it's raining where y'all are like it is where we are, y'all be safe and stay dry. If not, have fun in the sun and stay safe. Get to a TV tomorrow at 7 if you're not in the swamp, and enjoy the Cats at the Gators. AG, man, be safe, and
yes, sir.
I'll be rooting for you, Giants, because I don't care for the Titans. I live outside Knoxville, so I'm not a Titan.
Yeah, you don't need the noise. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
So until next time, we'll holler at everybody later. For my man AG Aaron Gershon, this is Vinny Hardy. It's been another episode of Believe in Kentucky, and we'll holler at y'all next week.